Derrick Rose's prime didn't feel real. He wasn't just quick, he was explosive, like the court had a fast-forward button. 1 second he's at half court, the next second he's at the rim, finishing over centers. And what made it terrifying wasn't just the highlights. It was the way defenders panicked the moment he turned the corner, because they knew help was coming too late. Rose didn't play like someone trying to survive. He played fearless. He attacked like the rim belonged to him. And then, at just 22 years old, he did the impossible. He became the youngest MVP in NBA history. Chicago had its new star. The Bulls had a future, but here's the part that makes his story hit different. His peak didn't last a decade. It didn't even last 5 years. It was a flash of greatness, and then it was gone. This is how Derrick Rose became unstoppable, and how everything changed. Derrick Rose wasn't just a top pick. He was a Chicago kid drafted by the Chicago Bulls, and from the start, it felt like destiny. The Bulls were still living in the shadow of the Jordan era. The city wanted a new face, a new reason to believe. Rose gave them that immediately, because he didn't come in playing scared. Most young guards spend their first season learning where they belong. Rose played like he already knew. Downhill drives, explosive finishes, acrobatic layups with defenders hanging off him, and the crowd could feel it. This wasn't just a good rookie, this was the beginning of something. People remember the speed first, but the real secret was how Rose controlled pace, stop and go. He could slow down just enough to freeze you, then explode past you like you weren't there. And he didn't need a complicated bag to do damage, a simple hesitation, a hard first step. And once he got into the lane, it was chaos. Because Rose could finish in every way, high off the glass, floaters, reverse layups, finishing through contact. And he wasn't just scoring, he was creating. If you collapsed, he kicked it out. If you stayed home, he finished. That balance, scoring pressure plus playmaking, is what turned Chicago into a real team. Then came 2010 to 2011. This was the season Rose became more than a rising star. He became the engine of a contender. The Bulls won 62 games, #1 seed, and every night Rose had the same job: create offense. No super team, no second MVP next to him. Just Rose pushing the pace, attacking defenses, and closing games. And the league he did it in matters. This was prime LeBron, prime Wade. The East was loaded, but Rose made Chicago feel dangerous again. And by the end of that season, the league had no choice but to respect it.
As a competitor, at that time when he was ruling the East, we had nothing but respect and a humble fear going against D. Rose.
At 22 years old, Derrick Rose was the MVP, the youngest ever. It felt like the start of a decade. And then, the moment everyone remembers, the playoffs, game 1, Rose attacks like he always does. He plants, he goes up, and he lands wrong.
Holding onto his knee,
a torn ACL. Just like that, everything changed. And the worst part isn't just the injury itself, it's what it represents. Because Rose's game was built on explosion, on quickness, on fearless attacks into traffic. When a player like that loses even a little, the margin disappears. The first step is different. The lift is different. The confidence changes too. And suddenly, the unstoppable version of Rose became a what if. After that, it wasn't one setback. It was years of uncertainty, rehab, comebacks, more injuries. And while Rose was fighting to return, the league kept moving. Teams evolved, new stars arrived, the Bulls changed, and the hardest part wasn't physical, it was mental. Because when you go from MVP to questioning your own body, every game becomes a test. Every drive becomes a decision. Do I explode or do I protect myself? And for a player who once played fearless, that's a brutal battle. But here's why Derrick Rose's story still hits. Because he didn't disappear, he kept fighting. And years later, he gave fans something they didn't expect: comeback moments. Games where the burst returned for a night, where the old footwork showed up again, where the crowd could feel it, and everyone remembered. And even if he wasn't the same MVP version, those moments mattered because they proved something important. Greatness doesn't always vanish. Sometimes it changes shape. Sometimes it becomes quieter, but it's still there. So let me ask you, when you think of Derrick Rose, what do you remember most? The MVP season or the comeback? Drop your favorite D-Rose moment in the comments. And if you want more NBA stories like this, about legendary primes, iconic seasons, and the moments that changed everything, subscribe. Until next time, appreciate greatness while you can.